Good morning, gang. I'm just trying to sort out some technical issues, so just give me a moment. Oops, sorry about that. Having some technical issues. Give me a moment. I'm going to close down my phone. All right. Good evening, gang. Afakasi Raider, my guy, Ont6, back at it again for another edition of Raiders World Order. Once again, we're coming together under not so happy circumstances. It's been a eventful couple of days, to say the least. We lost, the scoreboard's up there, 24-41 to the Cincinnati Bengals, and we have fired our offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, our offensive line coach, and our quarterback coach. Is that right, Ont6?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Well, before I let you shoot, salute to everybody in the chat. I see you, Raider Critique, Rofucho, my guy, and Dixon Slider. Yeah, 3-plate gang. You know what time it is. I don't understand the Getsy fire. Why after 2-7? If we would have beat the Bengals, does Getsy keep his job? I don't know.
Man.
I guess we'll never know. But anyways, Ont6, while I situate what's going on with my computer, because it just crashed while the intro was playing, you want to give your takes at the, well, first of all, on the game and then on the coaching stuff.
Well, I mean, going into this game, I had little hopes going forward to it. You know what I mean? I didn't think we were gonna win or anything, but I thought it was gonna be a more competitive game than it was. But it just sucks seeing our offense struggle game after fucking game. After the first 15 plays, our offense looks garbage. It literally does. I have no idea what the fuck's going on with Luke. That is the main reason he got fired and shit. To be honest with you, his play calling, and once again, his fucking play calling. At the end of the day, there was supposed to be a explosive offense and shit from everything we heard from training camp that we were gonna be a lot better than we were last year, and look at us now. Fight the offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach, and the quarterbacks coach. But at the end of the day, is what we had to do because something had to change. We couldn't go into coming back into the bye week with the team how it is. You know what I mean? It's low morale. Everybody's mad. Everybody's pissed off and shit. It was just real disappointment. But there is one little bright spot. I just want to shout out Jacorian Bennett for holding out his own against one of the best receivers in the league and shit. You know what I mean? So I want to shout out Jacorian Bennett.
Well, Jacorian Bennett continued to play at an exceptional level throughout the course of the season. I mean, it's minute criticism. He hasn't got an interception yet, but look, that's a minor criticism for what I expected him to do and what he's been able to produce, despite the team's struggles as a whole. And salute to you, Sal, We the People, and Freddie Chavez. Lucky, my guy, good to see you in the feed. It's been very pleasing to see. Maybe we'll start on the positives first. I mean, there was many, but Jack Jones getting a pick six, finally showing that playmaking that he was able to show from last season and come away with an interception, which he took to the house. That was a bright spot. Jackson Powers-Johnson, despite, yes, I know that the offensive line struggled as a whole, but he graded quite well when it came to it. His part of the bargain when it comes to run blocking and pass protection. Like PFF graded him on both sides of the equation in the 90s, and salute to you, Raider Ben and Just Nick, my guy. So that was good to see. That was his first start as a center in the league. So the future, he was going to be the future at center, but the future seems to be now. We can move on from Andre James. Thank you for your services, but I think we've got our center for the future in Jackson Powers-Johnson. Gee, what else was positive? I mean, Brock Bowers getting a touchdown, showing more of the same. He's proving to be the stud that we need in the first round moving forward and for the future. So very nice to see from Brock Bowers continuing his good form. God, grasping at straws here, trying to find positives. What do you think of Desmond Ridder in his first coming on? What was he? He came on in the third quarter, right?
Yeah, we still had a chance to win the game and still had a shot. It was just a little interesting, you know what I mean, seeing Desmond Ritter. I was expecting to see Garner Minshew out there after the pick six, but you know what I mean. I'm not the coach, and at the end of the day, they needed a spark on offense, but it just seemed like a little weird spot to put him in. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Right. And get this, like, I'm just going to read this stat because I just saw it before. So he was only on for like a quarter and a half, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sacked 4 times and pressured 34 times in that time frame.
Yeah.
The offensive line go.
Yeah, it just sucks because as much as we want to say the quarterback sucks and everything, this offensive line is horrible. I have never seen us go through almost 8 offensive linemen in the game. It
Right,
is so bad right
we
now.
lost 4, didn't we?
Yeah, we lost 4. It's just crazy and shit that we lost 4. And the thing is now we're taking this whole week off and not even practicing because everybody's fucking injured, and it's just ridiculous to me. Because
Right.
how are we supposed to get any continuity on the offensive line if nobody's been able to play with each other or get to know each other? You know what I mean? So that's another thing that got me frustrated and stuff. It just seems like it's one thing after another. And another thing, I don't even know what happened to our left tackle. What's his name? Oh my god, that filled in for Colt Miller. That guy,
Andres Pete?
Mumford. No, Mumford. He got lit
Mumford.
up a couple of times for sacks and shit. You know, by Tay
So was that
Hendricks and
him
shit.
getting? Yeah, I just saw that stat. Like, so that was him getting lit up.
Yeah, that was a couple times for sacks and shit. It was a little embarrassing and shit, especially him because some people say he was a better left tackle than right tackle, but at the end of the day, it was just a
Yeah,
little
I don't know
disappointing
about
the
that.
whole game.
I don't know about that after that game. I mean, very disappointing because I can't say I paid attention to the offensive line, like the particular players on the offensive line. But yeah, very disappointed that Munford got lit up like that. Like I had high praise for Munford moving to the season, and I thought he was doing well at times, and then he struggled at particular games when he was right tackle in the start of the season. And then he lost his job after he went down injured. DJ Glaze took over, and he came back this game at left tackle. And well, you know, Raider Ben, and you're telling me that he struggled. That was him on him. So maybe that's not the case. So I guess we may not be in good hands at the left position if we're going to move on from Colton Miller. Who did he go down? Was he already injured before the game, or did he go down to injury? I was half awake like at that time because I'm working night shift while the game's on. So yeah,
No, it's all good because Colt Miller got hurt, and it just seemed like every other play somebody was getting hurt. It was just the most ridiculous shit I ever seen in the Raider game. We just sad to see.
right. And salute to Miguel. I'll just read out his comment. Too late, little too late. Never should have hired this garbage. Never should have signed Minshew. Straight garbage. The O-line, no running back, no wide receiver, terrible coaching, hot garbage, and I'm sick of it, right? The offense side as a whole is just it's not good enough. Like the only bright spot, like that's a true bright spot, is Brock Bowers, and like it's weird because I like the young nucleus of offensive linemen that we have, but it's just like we're not coming together as a group. I don't know if it's predominantly on the veteran guys just not stepping up. Like, I mean, you know, Colt Miller struggled, Andre James has struggled, Andres Pete, Cody Whitehead, these veteran guys have all struggled. And I don't know, well, Mumford had a rough game. It was Parham in? Was he one of the guys who went down injured?
Yeah, Parham was one of the guys that went injured as well. The guards went down. Everybody was hurt. I mean, I have never seen so many offensive linemen go down in the game and shit. It was just embarrassing and shit at that point. They were even talking about it was so bad. They were even talking about maybe moving one of our tight ends to tackle just to give us some
Yeah,
depth.
I heard that. I was because I was watching the game, and then on the drive I was listening to it while I was working, and I heard them say the next man up is a tight end, which was a scary thought. But yeah, that was so bizarre, losing so many offensive linemen like that. And now it seems like we're going to be picking off the scrap heap, right? I mean, gee, I don't know, man.
It sucks because I have never seen the offense this bad. Maybe since we had Jamarcus Russell, or since the second time we had Art Shell and he hired that guy that used to run the bread and breakfast as an offensive coordinator and shit, and his only claim to fame was installing the first offense in the first Madden. Like, I have no idea. Afakasi, I'm just so mad. I'm disappointed, especially that AP, because this is the guy he hired. At the end of the day, it all falls back on the head coach. It's just ridiculous to me and pisses me off that how can Getsy get this job? You know what I mean? How the fuck did he bullshit his way through the interview process and all these schemes that he was gonna do all this shit? Like, seriously, how do you get this job with the offense looking so bad? His only claim to fame was fucking the 1 year he worked with Aaron Rodgers and he looked good and shit. But at the end of the day, as much as I want to move on from this season, I just want to enjoy the little bit of Raiders football that we have left, because when it's gone, we're gonna be crying for it. So.
Are we up to the bye week now? I think we are, aren't we?
We're at the bye week right now.
Couldn't have come at a better time, right? So we need to find an offensive coordinator in that space of time. Bump somebody up to offensive lineman coach and a quarterback coach. So, yeah, I mean, this is a team, especially on offense, that really lacks playmakers. I mean, for me, the only one is really Brock Bowers. Like, our wide receiver room is just so deficient. Like, I mean, it's good to have Jacoby Myers back, and he does quite well at times. The running back room, just, I mean, do I need to go on about that anymore? The quarterback room, do I need to go on about that? I mean, I did like the small sample size, like some of what Desmond Ridder did. It's going to be interesting, I guess, to see what he could do if he starts a full game over the likes of Gardner Minshew. I actually thought Minshew was throwing the ball quite well, like early on in the game, and then I don't know, man. Like we had to make a change. Just disappointing all around. The game really got out of hand after that fumble, right, by DJ Turner.
He did.
Very, very disappointing there. Being that he's my guy, but you know, you got to call a spade, right?
No, you have to.
One little mini shout out, I guess. Like, it sucked losing Nate Hobbs to injury. He's another injury, right? And he might be out for the rest of the season. It looked like it could be quite bad. He was hopping around in the tent and then out of the tent. So I don't know if we'll see him for the rest of the season. I hope, if that's the case, that's the last time we see him as a Raider. I hope we re-sign him, being that this is the 4th year of his contract. And, you know, these 4th-year guys like him, Trayvon Morrig, Malcolm Kuntz, and Divine Diablo are all going to be up for a new contract. I don't know which ones of those guys we're going to retain, if any of those guys. So I guess that'll be a point of interest in the offseason. But in their steed, I saw Darnay Holmes come on the field, and DeCam Richardson I saw quite a bit, and I noticed he made a play. So, you know, I guess that's something, being that like the back end of this year's draft has not really shown up at all. And if they have, it's very minute things like a tackle or a group tackle, like a Tommy Eichenberg or whatever. But, you know, it was nice to see DeCam Richardson get in there and do something. You know what I mean? You notice that it wasn't a pass deflection, but he was able to play the guy well after he was actually beat, you know, and push him out of bounds for an incompletion, which would have been a touchdown otherwise. So good to see from the young cat, and I hope to see more of that. I don't know, man. Is there any other takes from the game? Otherwise, we can put him in the bathroom and then move on to the next subject.
No, we could just move into the bathroom and then just move on, brother. At the end of the day, I just want to move on. I just want to put this game behind me, to be honest with you.
I'm going to play the clip, and then I'll get us going. All right, just hang tight.
Jojo, stop fucking breathing on me. You're killing me over here. I'm on a fucking win streak. Stop breathing on me, huh? Bobby, put him in the bathroom.
Sonny, any mushes in there ain't gonna fit.
I don't give a fuck. Put him in. It's a lot of money.
All right, put him in the bathroom. So this is our weekly segment where we either put a player, a coach, or even someone for doing something stupid or dumb that's Raider related. I'm going to give the entire floor to you this time on 6 because I think we can all agree on your put him in the bathroom award winner this week. So on 6, talk to him.
My put them in the bad award winner goes to the one and only Luke Getsy for your horrible ass play calling. It just amazes me how you're even to wake up every morning, put on your shoes, drive a car, anything to be honest with you. You're one of the worst offensive coordinators I have ever seen in my life. And that's going back to the guy that I talked about earlier that Arshaw brought in here that used to run a bread and breakfast and shit. Seriously, Luke Getsy, how is it that you can only come up with 15 plays to start the game and then out of nowhere you disappear? Right? Don't know how you're running shotgun at the goal line formation. You have Munford line up our number one receiver and shit. You do some of the most stupid play calling that I have ever seen in my life, but somehow you want to get up there every fucking day for the last couple of weeks. We're almost there. We're almost there. We just got to clean up the turnovers. No, how about you never should have got this fucking job in the first place? You were like the third fucking option and shit. And look what you did to us, dog. You made us waste another great year from Max Crosby, another great year of this defense. And for what? Just to prove that you were a waste of fucking time. So, Luke Getsy, you can go to the bathroom with my buddy Dustin, Ozzy, and the New York Yankees because the Dodgers won the World Series. How you doing, Yankees, huh? Always in front of Yankees fans, huh?
I guess that goes to that comment there by Jerry. I just watched the Bronx tell the Yankees losing the World Series. But there's going to be quite a few Dodger fans up in here, right? I will do one mini put him in the bathroom. I won't go to the solar layer. And I'm going to be putting your boy on 6 to the bathroom for not telling me that it's daylight savings and me having to rearrange my whole life, right?
Yeah, that is totally my fault. I apologize. I had a Dustin moment. You know what I mean? I apologize to everybody in the nation. You know what I mean? When I was impersonating Dustin last week on the Halloween special live, it kind of rubbed on me. So I apologize. Because it won't happen again, brother. I will definitely tell you next time.
Apology not accepted, Mr. On 6. It's all good, brother. We were able to work it out in the end. All right. Well, I'm going to jump to our next topic, and that's going to be I'm going to ask On 6 to give his mid-season grades since we're now 9 weeks deep, and I thought it'd be something different we could do today. Give out grades for the team, players, and all that. I'm just going to ask On 6 the questions. I might chime in and give my 2 cents, but we can all join in together in the comments. But mainly, I'm going to be giving On 6 a floor for this one. So without a further ado, we'll start with the offense. Dare I ask, what grade do you give the offense so far?
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a negative F, especially since somebody was talking about Amir, Sincere, and Amir were going to run for 16 yards and 16 touchdowns. How does that look right now and shit? You know what I mean? The second coming of Bo Jackson and shit. He doesn't make us all forget and break record books and shit. But look at that now. You know what I mean? The offense is just garbage. It's just an F at this point. So I don't know what else there even needs to say. It's just an F.
Right. I think we can all agree on that one. Very, very disappointing. But anyways, we'll move on. Defense. How you feeling about the defense up to this point?
Up to this point, I'm going to give them a solid B because they could play better. They could play worse. But under the current situation we're having with no offense or anything and them being on the field as long as they have, I'm going to give them a solid B.
Just real quick, I'd probably give them a C, being that, we have been blown out in games. Like, they have been trying their best, and it doesn't help that we're missing some of our key players, and Max Crosby is playing week in, week out hurt. But, yeah, there's only so much the defense can do with the offensive deficiencies. But anyways, special teams.
Overall, shout out to AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson, the best special teams in the league. You know what I mean? I have no complaints on them so far this year. I mean, they've been doing their job and shit. So yeah, I'll give them a B right here as well.
Solid B. Okay. According to you, we're looking quite good.
That's what it says right here. But when you really go break it down and into it, because you really know what's really going on.
Right. I guess that kind of ties in with the next one, coaching.
It's a complete F at this point. Just from AP, the offensive coordinator position, just them two is just a F. You know what I mean? Just what else can you say? There's no offense whatsoever. We can't score points. The most we scored all season, I believe, is 24 points, and we still lost. So at the end of the day, just poor clock management, poor fucking challenge skills, poor everything at this point. It's just a F. I'm sorry to say it. It's just a F.
I would almost bump it up a little bit to a D range, and that's not saying much because I feel like at least Patrick Graham's trying to make the best of a bad situation. But
yeah, you're right. You could probably put it just a D, just to level it out for Patrick Graham because he's doing that.
Sure, like this is your grades. I mean, I'm just
no, you're right. No, you're good, Avocado. Yeah, we'll just go with the D there. Well,
that's a generous D, being that the rest of the coaching has not been good at all. All right, rookie class. What grade would you give the rookie class as a whole so far?
So far, I'm really excited about our first 3 picks, and what's the last time we could actually say that as a Raider Nation? You know what I mean? Especially with some of the drafts that we had with John Gruden and Josh McDaniels, it just makes you think what we really had if we were actually to hit on the draft classes. But so far it's good, you know, especially with Brock Bowers, our center as well, just and our Glaze as well. Just there's a young talent on this team, and they're going to be key pieces for years to come. And I'm gonna give this rookie class a C plus right now. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of potential. I still like to see a lot more from the round 4 through 7 guys, but as much as you want to say you want to see something, they're there for a reason that we drafted them, and hopefully with due time they can bring some to the table. For now, I'm gonna give it a C plus.
I personally would go in the B range, being that we got a start in Brock Bowers, and we've found ourselves our center for the future in Jackson Powers Johnson, and DJ Glades. I mean, I don't know if he was lit up again this week, but like I think whether he has or he hasn't, he's at least exceeded expectation at that right tackle right from the rip. Because I mean, like most of us weren't expecting nothing from him. I mean, he was going to be a rotational guy at best, a swing tackle, whatever. But to be a starter and playing fairly well, considering a lot of offensive line the first year they come into the league struggle, and that's okay. You expect that. So with all things considered, I think he's another good pick. The rest of the rookies haven't really done much per se, as I highlighted before. I mean, DeCam Richardson got his chance this game, and I thought like he did reasonably well in spots. But yeah, like look, it's like I keep saying, I prefer how the draft is going this year, where like if we're not gonna hit it out of the ballpark across the board, I would rather our first few picks turn out to be good ones, and we have to wait for these later picks to develop, rather than in previous years like 2023's draft class, where we're having to rely on the middle or the back end of the draft to make up for the fuck ups in the first few rounds. You know what I'm saying? So I would personally go in that B range, but if you want to go C plus, that's like I said, this is your grades, not mine. And just while I'm on the subject, like the other thing that like reared its ugly head this game, and another injury that happened, was Adam Butler went down. He was probably the brightest spot in the interior, with all our other guys not really producing. I mean, John Jenkins was doing okay in spots, but like I've brought this up a few times, and since we're talking about the rookies, like the lack of draft production we're getting out of not just the defensive line, but interior, well, predominantly the interior guys we're drafting, but also the defensive ends. I'm looking at Tyree, outside of Malcolm Kuntz and Max Crosby since 2019. Like it's been atrocious. Like we really need to draft better, especially interior. Like how many guys have we brought in the door since Justin Ellis? We haven't drafted anyone worth a shit on the interior. And even the last, like 3 years, like the only guy who's still on our roster is Matthew Butler. Even he's not that great. I mean, we cut ties with Nesta. We cut ties with Byron. We traded away Neil Farrell. I mean, come on. We got to do better than this. And Tyree Wilson, look, do we really need to go on another round about Tyree? Do we really need to? But we need to do better when it comes to drafting defensive line as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially interiors. Like, surely we can find somebody in the interior who's even worth a shit. I mean, Adam Butler can at least do some things, and he was a guy we brought in the door who wasn't expecting anything from. So, anyways, my bad to go on a bit of a rant. And sorry I'm not getting to your comments, but salute to everybody. Please bear with me. And the numbers, nice to see you on the feed, my friend. Anyways, yes, Wilkins was good up until he went down injured, which really hurt us. Anyways, rookie standout. Who would be your rookie? I mean, shit. Do I even need to ask the question?
I mean, Mr. Bowers, I think there's nobody else, especially too when coming into the drive, you heard this kid was one of the best tight ends to come out in years, and he demonstrated from the first snap on the field. It just amazes me that this kid, PJ Hall, or
PJ Hall, Jihad Ward, you know, your boy Raider critique, Obi. Sorry, not Obi. Well, he was a safety, but what was it? Eddie Vander Dozen. I mean, come on. Yeah. Like, how many times do we have to swing there to find someone who's worth a shit? We're not even finding a decent rotational guy. But anyways, Ont6, go ahead. Sorry, interrupt.
No, I was saying Brock Bowers in his first snap that he came on the field, he was been impactful. It's just crazy to me that I've never seen the tight end run reverses or sweeps out the backfield, even lined them up at running back in college and shit. They even lining up at wide receiver now. It just amazes me the stuff that Brock Bowers can do on the field.
Right. It's so nice to draft someone first round and the guy is a baller right from the rip. I'm just hoping that this can happen consistently year in, year out. Like, he doesn't go down to injuries. He seems like a blue collar kind of guy, very humble. So there shouldn't be any off the field issues. You know what I'm saying? So those are the only two things that I feel would derail Brock Bowers. And salute to you all, Liza. See you in the building. From keeping on trending upwards. But I mean, to right from the rip, he's from what I understand, he's leading the league in every statistical category bar touchdowns in terms of the tight ends. So to do that from year one, I mean, gee, like you couldn't ask for a better start. You know what I'm saying? So he goes up there with the likes of like Khalil Mack, Josh Jacobs, who were able to draft in the first round and be able to be a stud right from the rip. And that's what you want. You don't want these Tyree Wilson type picks or these Alex Leatherwood type picks, or, you know, Colton Miller is the only example that I can think of in the last, since I've been a Raider fan, who wasn't a baller right from the jump and had to wait like years to develop. And I'm talking round one specifically. Every other round one pick that like we're waiting for just didn't amount to anywhere close to what you expect from a round one draft investment. So it's really nice to see Brock Bowers be the guy who's exceeding that. So anyways, we'll go to the next one. We might even have the same answer here. But before I do move on from rookie standout, shout out to Jackson Powers Johnson. He's really coming onto his own despite the offensive line struggles. So he's another guy who deserves his flowers. But anyways, offensive standout.
I mean, nobody comes out to mind besides Mr. Brock Bowers as well. You know what I mean? I want to say somebody else, but there's really nothing to be excited about on offense besides Mr. Brock Bowers. So that's the only one I can really think of. Especially, I would love to say Devontae Adams or somebody else, but he's not here. Jacoby Myers wants to. I mean, he's a great player, but you know what I mean? He's doing what he usually does. It's just the impact that Mr. Bowers came and just gave this team from day one is just amazing.
For sure. Yeah. It definitely exceeded a lot of expectations. Like I said, the only thing I hope for is that this is the consistent, and this the only two things that could derail him is off the field issues, which I don't see happening. Like I said, he's a blue collar kind of guy. And injury would be the only things that would derail. But it seems to be very positive, at least for now. And salute to everybody who's just joined the stream. Circus, Ultimate Raider fan, All Eyes on G. I gave you shout outs, but I'll shout out you again. Appreciate you guys. We'll move on to defensive standout. So who's been your defensive standout this far?
I mean, I'm going to shout out this player. I shouted him out earlier and shit, but Mr. Jacorian Bennett. Going into this season, I really didn't expect him to be shutting down and holding his own against number one receivers in the league, especially after how bad he looked jogging off the field and shit, not giving 110% to seeing where he's at now. It's just night and day. I just want to shout him out, and hopefully he keeps doing what he's doing so he can be hopefully the number one shutdown corner for the Raiders for years to come.
Right. So does he get your award or does it go to somebody else?
No, he's getting my award because I really wasn't expecting too much for him at all. You know what I mean? That's a shout out to him for that.
No, well, hey, that's shout out to him for being even in that consideration, being that we expected a lot more from a lot of other players, and for him to emerge as the other consistent, besides, like, say, Max Crosby and Robert Spillane throughout the course of the season. It's been very pleasing to see. Jacorian Bennett was a guy I was critical of last season, and he's definitely exceeded my expectations. So big salutes to him. My personal award would go to Max and then maybe Robert Spillane. But for you to give it to Jacorian Bennett, like, I'm not. Hey, that's a pleasant answer for me. So, and salute to you, Hit Stick Stepper. Nice to see you in the feed, my friend. Best free agent. Shit. Grasping at straws for this one.
For real. God damn. Hold on. Let me look for something. Like, I don't even know on this one. This is a good one, dog. I have fucking no idea. Who the fuck would you even give to best free agent signing and shit, dog? Holy fuck.
I would still give it to Christian Wilkins, even for the small body of work, being that we lost him quite early in the season. But I think he, up until that point, he was producing, and I would give the award to him, being that, like, the only other guys really is what, like, well, Harrison Bryant's done all right in spots, and Gardner Minshew, well, we're not going to give it to him, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to give it to Christian Wilkins. At the end of the day,
there's an interesting one. Snowden. Would you give it to Snowden over Wilkins, even though Snowden hasn't really showed up since the Cleveland?
I would still say Wilkins at that point, even though because it just sucks, man. We couldn't even have him on there too long. We're having too many games with Max Crosby just to see what them guys could have done together. And then having Kuntz on the field with them at the same time, man. Just that three-headed monster. That's man. God, man. Just makes you think what could have been, dog. What could have been.
Losing those two, especially like losing Malcolm Kuntz right from the rip, and then losing Wilkins, and now we've lost Adam Butler, and Max Crosby is playing week in, week out hurt, which is why I brought up the point of drafting of defensive linemen has been atrocious. Like, it's rearing its ugly head now because we need those guys to step up, and none of those guys are stepping up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes no sense. It just sucks, man, that we've been missing out on all these draft picks over the last couple of years, that we finally had to get an impact player at the defensive tackle, and we had to pay for it. But at the end of the day, hopefully Christian Wilkins gets back to 100% and he's ready to go to start the next season.
I mean, how many times do you have to swing before you even get a base hit? You know what I'm saying? Like, to all you baseball heads, and I'm not even a baseball kind of guy, but what would be our batting average when it comes to drafting interior specifically in the last decade?
Fucking, we'd be batting like 0-12. Fucking, I don't know, batting 12% and shit. I have no idea, though. I wouldn't even say
we haven't even had a base hit. You know what I'm saying? If Matthew Butler is the only guy left on our roster and he isn't even doing nada, I mean, that really says something. I mean, God, can we just get it right, for God's sakes? But anyways, surprise player of the year. So see, before you shoot, this is where I would personally put Jacorian Bennett, but this is going to be your award show. So Ont6, who's your surprise player of the year?
My surprise player is Amir Sincere, and Amir now running for 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Somebody was hyping these guys up, being the next three-headed monster in the league that would come and break records and shit. But I'm just joking, guys. But in all seriousness, I think the most surprised player, and I'm gonna put this player up there for the wrong reasons, and that's been Garner Minshew. As much as I didn't want this guy to be our starting quarterback or even sign him, because I thought since day one AOC should have been the starting quarterback. That's been my surprise because this guy fucking sucks. I'm putting him up there for all the wrong reasons. His pocket awareness is horrible. His decision making is horrible. I just don't know what else to say about this guy. To be honest with you, at the end of the day, he was just a waste of money and still is until he's gone from this team. So my surprise player is Garner freaking Minshew for all the fucking wrong reasons.
If I may ask, who would be your surprise standout for the right reasons?
DJ Glaze. Who's seen that shit coming after his fucking off season and shit? Especially for him struggling in the game, and then after that, him being coached up and just being able to produce. You know what I mean? So DJ Glaze has just been a big surprise. Ain't nobody thought he was gonna come in here as being a third round pick, especially how everybody's saying that he was a bust and shit, and we should have never drafted him when we did. Just he's looking amazing. So my surprise for all the good reasons would be DJ Glaze.
Right. I can accept that. Like DJ Glaze being that, yeah, to your point, nobody, including myself, like expected anything from this guy right from the rip. And I'll just read out the comment here. So Circus saw it coming. Did you, Circus? Feel the Glaze. I was the only Glaze defender after everyone was calling him a reach. Well, salute to you. I mean, I didn't say it was a reach per se, but like for me, it was just like, right, with the guy with apparently by the experts reaching for in the third round, I was expecting, right, you know, he might come in spots, but a rotational guy at best for year one. And if he gets on the field, if he struggles, it is whatever. Like, let him develop his craft. But for a guy to come in as a starter, and yes, he's taken his licks, but like with perspective, when you look at guys that we've drafted in previous years, a hell of a lot higher and expected a hell of a lot more right from the rip. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at guys like Alex Leatherwood or even Colton Miller. Remember Colton Miller? He struggled year one. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. You can take your licks year one as long as you learn from that and get better. Because offensive line is a very hard position for these young cats to come in and produce well enough right from the get-go. But DJ Glaze, yes, he's taken his licks, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. And we've got a guy who should be a core piece of our offensive line moving forward. What side of the ball that is, whether he makes that right tackle position his own or we try to kick him over to left tackle, we will see. But I like that. My personal award would go to my pleasant surprise player would be Jacorian Bennett. He would be my surprise player of the year, being that like I expected much from Jack Jones, who has kind of disappointed me a little bit. Like, yes, he had a better game this week, and that was good to see him making plays, getting a touchdown, and some pass deflections in that. But I expected a little bit more on the playmaking side of the ball from him. Nate Hobbs has been consistent this year to a point, and you know, I've been relatively pleased with his play. I hope to see him back next year and moving forward. So I hope that's not the last. This isn't the last we see of Nate Hobbs, but Jacorian Bennett was the question mark, and to be consistently making technically hard and difficult plays by disrupting the ball at the catch point, getting the pass deflection time and time again against some of the best wide receivers in the league has been phenomenal. So, and I want to also highlight the fact that this is a guy I criticized a lot last year. There was times when I felt like he lacked effort, especially when it came to trying to pursue the wide receivers who've caught the ball on him. I noticed he was jogging a few times last year, which disappointed me greatly, but like that hasn't reared its ugly head this year. I've noticed nothing but effort and hustle, as well as him being able to produce with technically difficult plays. So Jacorian Bennett would be my surprise player of the year. But we're going to go back to the negative. Well, there'd be a long list for offensive dud, but Ont6, dear.
There's a couple of people that come to mind, but more than anything, there's a special place in my heart for Zamir, Amir, and Sincere, especially Zamir White. Everybody this offseason was saying this guy was going to run for 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns. The second coming of Bo Jackson. He was going to make us forget about Josh Jacobs. And what has he done this year? Nothing.
Crazy.
Lost his job to Alexander Madison after how many games? It's just embarrassing, to be honest with you. He had the whole world in his hands. And all he had to do was produce. You know what I mean? That's the thing that goes to tell you guys. You can't go off a player having a couple good games in his year. Because at the end of the day, it just shows you that they aren't really that good. They could have a couple good games, and that after that, what? We're in this shit show now with the offensive line as well. But for me, the biggest fucking dud is Zamir White. I don't care what anybody says. You guys might say the offensive line. For me, it's him. Because everybody was hyping him up this offseason. He's working now. He's built like a fucking Ford truck. Look at all the weights he's doing, this and that. It doesn't matter if you're not elusive. You can't find the hole. You can't hold on to the fucking football. To me, it's definitely Zamir White.
These are all, they're not wrong answers. Like Luke Getsy, you could put in there. I'm talking about players specifically, but hey, if we were going to put throwing coaches, he could be a leading candidate. Dixon makes a good point. Offensive duds would be Andre James and Colton Miller, being that they're supposed to be our leaders on the offensive line. Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. Gardner Minshew, I'm right there with you, has been disappointing, but I'm going to go with Ont6's answer too, like Zamir White and the rest of the running back room. Just besides Alexander Madison, and even he doesn't really light the house on fire per se. And INNESX Nation salute you. I will get to your comment in a minute, but God, like that, how there was quite a few cats out there that were confident in Zamir White being the rightful replacement for Josh Jacobs, but there was some absolutely delusional takes from certain people, which I'm not even going to get into with their names, but like saying that Zamir, Amir, and Sincere were going to rush for 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns and be just as good, if not better, than Josh Jacobs. That was an absolutely lunacy of a take. Like it was how anybody could think like that this running back room was going to be a suitable replacement. Like, oh God, like it was. This is literally, from my understanding, statistically, the worst running back room we've had in the last 30 years. Name one that isn't worse than this one, or that is worse than this one. I can't even think. You go and do your research. Like every year we've had somebody for the last 25 years. This year we've got nobody, with Alexander Madison being the best of the bunch. But the running back by committee has just been a disaster. And yeah, we need to find some cats next year. Draft once, draft twice. I don't give a shit. Like we need to bring in some new cats in the door and get all these guys up out of here, and these practice squad guys. I mean, I'm looking at Sincere McCormack, sincerely doing absolutely nada on the practice squad. Like how a guy has been on our practice squad for 3 years, and despite our running game struggles, he can't even get on the goddamn field. Has not even taken one snap. So how long does a player need on a practice squad before they do anything? I mean, all these cats can go as far as I'm concerned. Like, get some new bloods in here. Like, for God's sake, surely they could do better.
No,
but anyways,
I completely agree, Afakasi. And it's funny now, the same people that were saying that Amir and Sincere and Amir were going to run for 1,600 yards and 60 touchdowns are now saying that Zamir White was the fullback the whole time. Now, he wasn't the real running back. I can't understand these fucking people, man. I don't know what the hell they're smoking or what they're on outside of the 7-Eleven parking lot in their busted ass 1998 F-150, but that's a story for another day. So let's go on to the next topic.
Right. And Dixon saying he'd trade Michael Mayer effective immediately. Well, once again, I'm not going to comment about like what's going on with him, why he's taking a hiatus for personal reasons. Like everyone can speculate, but it could be serious stuff that doesn't involve illicit stuff, if that makes sense. So unless we know, we don't. So look, there is that, but in terms of on the field production, I'm right there with you. Like, this is a guy we traded up in round 2 for. Like, granted, we got Brock Bowers, who's a stud, and someone's asking me what I'm drinking. It's Rockstar. But Michael Mayers, a guy, another one of that draft clutch, which I keep talking about. Like, you know, we're fucking up in the top end of the draft and having to make up for it in the middle or the back end. Like last year's draft, Michael Mayer was a part of being a round 2 guy. And what has he done? Pretty much next to nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, in terms of on the field play, definitely disappointing. But yes, and sincerely trash. Well, like I said, if we're not even playing him despite all of our running back struggles, then what does that say? You know what I'm saying? But anyways, defensive dud. What say you?
For me, I mean, there's only one player that's going to go on here.
Should we say it together?
You want to say it on the same time? All right.
On the count of 3.
All right, go. You count down.
1, 2, 3. Tyree Wilson.
For real. That's what I was exactly going to say. Shout out to Mr. Tyree Wilson. That somebody said that was going to be the next second coming of Max Crosby. That we had our next Greg Townsend and Harry Long for the next 10 to 15 years. And how does that look? Horrible ass Tyree Wilson, bro. I have seen more out of Cleveland Farrell his time with the Raiders. I actually seen Cleveland Farrell his rookie year and seen him get 2.5 sacks against the Chargers. What have I seen Tyree Wilson do this year? Get 1 sack.
1 sack.
And after that sack,
1 sack and 10 tackles.
That's it. From a number 1 7th pick in the draft, and this is what we're all clapping about. Tyree finally showed up in the game. Well, what has he done since that game? Nothing. Went to hiding again. I'm just over Tyree Wilson. I'm not saying he's a bad person or whatever, but he's the bust. And he was not worth that 7th overall pick in the draft. I know everybody says, well, he shouldn't have played his rookie year because of that Chandler Jones situation. But at the end of the day, this year he supposedly was healthy, and he was going to come into this year as the best version of himself. You know what I mean? Even Arden Key's doing better than this guy as well. The biggest disappointment in the defensive dud for me is Tyree Wilson, point blank and period.
Right. And I 100% agree with that take. Tyree did get 3.5 his rookie year. Playing when he switched over to interior, I thought he was doing better. I will give him that. But year 2, I mean, come on, 1 sack and 10 tackles for a guy you draft in the first round. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There is a bare minimum of expectation that comes with a first round draft pick, and to get a guy who's produced that much in year 2, nowhere close to being good enough. And I was critical. You just brought him up of Cleve Farrell, and I still am. Nowhere near worth a 3rd pick overall. Was he 3rd or 4th? I keep getting
4th.
I'm pretty sure it's okay. Whatever it may be, it was a top 5 draft pick, and to get the production we got out of Cleve Farrell, nowhere near a good enough. A guy who was a rotational guy and a decent one at that. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a Brock Bowers at best, a Khalil Mack at best, a Josh Jacobs, or at the very least a decent starter, not a rotational guy. That's not up to scratch at all. And for Tyree Wilson to not even be better than Cleve Farrell, that's really saying a lot. And yeah, I think it's unequivocal to have him as our defensive dud for the year. Like, nowhere near good enough. And I don't know, man. How long does a guy need to start producing as a decent starter, not a rotational guy? I mean, God, like even guys we didn't expect nothing from, like Adam Butler and Charles Snowden are out playing him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not Charles Snowden as of late, but still, you know, come on. Luke Masterson, you know, he could be a candidate. I mean, you know, he's my guy, but he was disappointing in that small stretch he was starting when we had other players go down to injured. But for me, he's always been a rotational guy at best, not a starter. I feel like he's decent as rotational, but as a starter, he wasn't that. But anyways, yeah. All right, well, we'll go to final grade. What would be your final grade up to now for our first half of this season? Dare I ask?
mean, To be honest with you, I would just put it as a D. As much as I want to put an F, there is a little bit of positives and shit, as you can tell by some of the things that are on the list. But at the end of the day, it's just a disappointment because as Raider fans, every year we think it's a different year. And as much as we want to think it's a different year, it's not. It's the same old shit every year, and we're tired of it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as much as we want to complain about the coaches and shit, there's only one key thing that's been here as long as nothing just changing. That's Mark Davis. You know what I mean? This always falls back on the owner. It's his team. He's the one that's putting this product out on the team. He's the one hiring these coaches and shit. So at the end of the day, I'm holding Mark Davis accountable, and he needs to make some changes this offseason. Because as fans, we deserve a lot better and shit. Because I'm tired of fucking losing. I'm tired of the product on the field. It just amazes me how we can't build a team that can contend for the playoffs year in and year out. You know what I mean? There's teams like the Lions and the fucking Browns that are somehow better than us, and yet they still suck and shit. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm just tired of it. I just want to win, and as I know this year it's gonna be hard because we're not gonna win any more games, or we might win one or two more. But at the end of the day, it's all gonna be worth it if we're able to draft a franchise quarterback in the draft.
Right. I personally would go D minus, a generous D minus, like almost an F. But yeah, it's not been a good year at all, and we do need to make some changes. But I will say, at least there seems to be the start of the changes. You highlighted Mark Davis. We brought in new ownership with Tom Brady and Richard Seymour. Granted that it's small, but it's big enough for them to have a say when it comes to the decision making. So hopefully with these two guys coming from championship Hall of Fame pedigrees on the field, and Tom Brady being who he is and being successful in just about every venture that he's been a part of, hopefully that can trickle down to the Raiders with our decision making, which leads to better performance and hopefully taking us back to the glory days, because we've been in these dark times for too long, and I'm getting tired of it. So yeah, that would be my final take. So there you have it, folks. There's our mid-year in review. You can see the grades and the players there. I mean, not really any surprise other than the defenses stand out. Like, shout out to Jacorian Bennett for being that defensive standout in opinion on Ont6. Definitely exceeding many people's expectations. Circus Z for Zamir and for Minshew. All right.
That was a good one right there.
Somebody call him, I don't know if it was Circus, but Smear White. Like smear.
Oh,
like shit
yeah. That's a good one right there. That is a good one.
Right. In all honesty, Max hasn't been the game changer this year. Season. No, like he's still been enough to be the defensive standout, but like he hasn't been being that, like he's playing week in and week out hurt. Still, he's been able to do some things. And look at the rest of the bunch on the defensive line. Like we had Adam Butler, and that was pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? And now he's gone. These other cats ain't doing shit. Squat. Nada.
Yeah.
But anyways, you got any more final thoughts before we get on out of here?
No, I just want to say to the nation, I know this year is a little tough and shit, but at the end of the day, let's just enjoy this last couple of games of Raider football that we have for the rest of the year, because once it's gone, we're going to be crying for it. And at the end of the day, just win, baby, and take it one game at a time. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be worth it if we're able to get my boy Cam Ward from the Miami Hurricanes to become our franchise quarterback. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm just going to take it one game at a time.
One thing we need to address come the draft next season, as it stands, unless any of these other cats can ball out from here on, which probably isn't going to happen and probably wouldn't change my mind anyway, is we need to find our guy and then build around him. We've got a lot of cash. Got plenty of draft picks to address those other areas, but round one, we need to swing for our quarterback and whatever it takes to get our guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, worst case scenario, it'd be another draft fuck up. It's like, so what? But for me, it's personally, I think the highs outweigh the lows. Like, what if we find our guy that can take us to the future? We can build around that, much like we did. And I don't mean to keep bringing him up, but I'm only bringing him up to make a point. Like, Derek Carr struggled in his year one. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be Matt Schaub, but we were able to build around him. And we had one of our most successful years in 2016 when we could have gone to the Super Bowl if what happened didn't happen. But there's no reason why we can't do that again. If we find our guy, build around with some of the young blocks we already have, but find ourselves some playmakers at wide receiver and running back. We can get there again. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but it will come, Raider Nation. We just got to hold tight and pray that these better days come sooner rather than later. And I'll just go back to this one, bro. Dennis Allen got fired. Yeah, Dennis Allen did get fired, and he had a rough time of it back when he was coach. But like his first 2 years, there was context to that. Like, remember, we had no draft capital, and the salary cap issues that we had when we hired him. You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, 2014 was the start of when we started to have cash and we started to have draft picks, which we ended up turning into the best draft class we had. Well, could be the best even still, like that 2014 class, but it took them time to work out. But you know what I'm saying? I didn't mean to make this about Derek Carr. I was only trying to make a point that, like, if we pick round one, we can build around him for the future. But anyways, Ont6, any other?
That's it for me, brother. Until the next one, Nation.
Right, and we the people, I know we disagree on some takes, and I appreciate your thoughts. Like, I'm not saying he is anything now. Like, I'm not even focusing on what he's doing now, and we moved on from him. I'm just looking at the future and what can happen for the future. Draft a guy young, early, and build around him. But that's just my personal take. I know not everyone's going to agree. But anyways, salute to everybody. I'm going to see if I can get this right, because I saw an interesting video earlier this week, and it was a guy doing the Raider Nation sign language. So I think it's Raider Nation for life, win, lose, or tie. You know what time it is. It's Raider Nation Tweedle up on 6.
Till we die, brother. Of course. Thanks for having me on. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Until the next one.
Right. And salute to everybody. Take care. We'll catch you on the flip side for sure. All right. Peace.